What the hell is up with all these hooks and rigs? A European bass champion? Holy mackerel. Stick around and we will straighten all this out on this edition, Tackle Shop Live. Okay. How's everybody doing? We're having a little bit of technical difficulties. So if something happens while we're going along here, just hang tight. We're going to click in and out and try to get this thing to work right. I don't know. The internet is a crazy thing. How's everybody doing? Logan, how you doing? William Barnes, Kevin, what's up, Kevin? Robert, how you doing? Andre, how you doing, Andre? You bet, man. We're going to talk tournament fishing and everything today. So absolutely. Thanks for stopping by. I've got a couple of announcements we got to make, and then we're going to get on to it. Corbin, you got some information on the Conowingo Bass Fishing Open Series, which starts this weekend, sponsored by Susquehanna Fish and Tackle. And I was wondering, what do you got on that? Can you tell us what's going on with that tournament?
Well, Brian Setlock sent me this email this morning. It said the first event is Sunday, June 27th at the Dorsey Park Lawn. SFT bonus money comes with a requirement, a $100 per boat purchase from our store anytime until October 9th, 2021. This purchase excludes any special events the store may hold between now and then, which is Fish with Ish, Bassapalooza, anything like that. After you purchase, please bring a receipt or a picture of the receipt to the next registration of the next event.
Oh, yeah.
So, eligibility, Mikey.
Yeah. So there is going to be a championship part of this series.
Yep.
Got to fish 5.
You're allowed one partner substitute unless you fish alone in those 5 events.
Right.
The championship partner must be declared before registering for the second event. The first event could have been fished with a substitute. Please arrive early. Registration will close at 5:20 a.m. We don't want to leave anyone in the parking lot.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to leave anybody in the parking lot. So that's what it is. I know we cut out right there a little bit, guys, but me and George and Susquehanna Fish and Tackle are sponsoring this event. We're matching $5 per tournament, per entry. So up to $1,000 for the championship. So we're going to kick in $1,000 if we get enough people fishing the tournament. Could be as high as $1,000 championship tournament. All you got to do to win that money is come here to the shop, you and your partner, and have a receipt of $100 or more to be eligible for that championship money. And there you go. It's a good deal. It's at all the tournaments are on the Conowingo pool, and there's a schedule on the Facebook page, Conowingo Bass Fishing Open Series Facebook page. There's a schedule of all the tournaments. You guys can go check them out. If you have any other questions, you come in here to the shop. We have applications and stuff here, information sheets here. We can help you with that. And come on out, because me and George are fishing. Me and George are fishing a tournament. Why don't you come out and see if you can beat me? And we're throwing it down.
It's going down, boys.
Bring it. It's going down. Me and George are going to be fishing, so come on out. We're going to have a great time. We haven't been there forever, so.
Well, we were there last Sunday.
Oh yeah, we went for last Sunday for the first time in 2 years. We went there, so we caught fish. So I mean, everybody's catching fish over there. Fishing's good on Conowinga Pool, so come on down, fish the tournament.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Haven't fished a tournament in a little while.
Yeah.
What do you think it's going to take to win?
I think the winning weight is going to be 14.5 pounds.
I think it's going to be under 12.
Yeah, I think 14. I think somebody's going to come in with a nice bag, 14 and a half to win it. They're catching a lot of fish, but catching that 3-pounder, that's the tricky part, catching a good 3-pounder right now. It happens every year in June. And July, it gets tough in June and July down there, but you can catch a lot of fish. It's just catching those 3-pounders. You got to unlock the secrets, which I have yet to do. We're working on it. So hopefully me and George will figure something out for the tournament and come in with that 14 and a half pounds.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have that last week when we were out there practicing around. So
negative on the 14 and a half pounds.
Bass boat friendly. Yes, Andre. It's the Conowinga Pool where we're launching. You're below all the kind of nasty stuff. You're in the pool itself. So it's a lot like a lake, and you don't need to go up to the rocks to catch fish. You can fish the lake. There's smallmouth, there's largemouth. You can pound the bank and catch them. You can find offshore structure and catch them. You can crank. You can Carolina rig. You can Senko fish. There's grass in there. There's everything in that pool. So I think everything's going to be in play. If they run water, it's going to be a good tournament. If they don't run water, we're going to be picking at them hard.
There's a lot of grass.
Yeah, there's a lot of grass in there.
There's a lot of grass this year.
Yep, there's a lot of grass there. So, you can do some grass fishing there. But me and George are throwing the gauntlet down. Come on out, see if you can beat me and George.
Anybody from out of the area that would like to come in and fish the Conowinga Pool and fish the Conowinga Tournament Series and needs a little help, feel free to call the shop or stop by the shop.
We'll dial you in.
We will go over your safe running lanes and kind of overview of how the lake fishes, and get you on the right foot. So, if anybody wants to jump in this tournament, which is very user-friendly, cost-friendly, and needs a little help.
Yeah, it's $100.
We're here to help.
$100 a team, so it's it's not a lot of money. It's supposed to be fun, and everything we do, we like to have fun with it. So that's why we got involved.
We'll be having fun.
Brian Setlock, they ran the circuit last year, and everybody seemed to enjoy themselves, and so we got involved a little bit more this year, and we're looking forward to it. So. Any questions, come on over and ask us, and we will dial you right in. James Hawk, how are you doing, buddy? Hope everything's going well. Yeah, we lost connection there. We're having some internet snafus here in the shop. But
did you pay the bill?
I paid the bill.
All right.
Looks like we're locked on pretty good now. So
we're locked and loaded.
Jerry, the tournament is this Sunday. The first one is this Sunday. There's 7 tournaments. It's a series, so if you fish 5 of the 7, then you can qualify for the championship. And then, like I said, Susquehanna Fishing Tackle is going to match up to $1,000 in the payouts for the championship. So it could be a nice little chunky chunk of money for the championship. But more importantly, I think the championship is bragging rights. I take that over money any day of the week. Back in the day. George remembers this. Corbin, you were probably just a child back then.
Probably.
There used to be a couple series in particular that everybody fished it. There was always 40 boats, 50 boats in this tournament circuit down there. It was called the Hog Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
and Hog Hunters had a circuit down there. It was really competitive, a lot of fun, a lot of great guys. So hopefully they're going to start that back up and get that kind of flow back into it that we had with that tournament circuit, because it's local for a lot of. You don't have to travel real far. You don't have to run all the way down to the bay. So a lot of local guys can get involved with it.
Well, we get a lot of fishermen from Maryland because it straddles the Pennsylvania-Maryland line.
Yeah.
We get a lot of fishermen from Delaware.
Yeah.
Because a lot of your Delaware anglers have less than an hour commute to get there.
Yeah, and they fish a lot of Delaware fishes club tournaments on there, and Maryland fish club tournaments on there. And
we get a lot of fishermen from Jersey because it's only like 2.5 hours away.
Yeah,
at the most.
Yeah. So
it's a very popular destination, and over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, the bass population has exploded, and there's just fish everywhere. So you're going to catch a lot of fish when you go to Conowinga Pond. We call it the pond. It's the lake on the Susquehanna River, which is formed by the Conowinga Dam, which is the last dam on the river before the tidal Susquehanna flows into the Chesapeake Bay. From that dam upriver to the Holtwood Dam, in there is called Conowingo Lake. We call it Conowingo Pond. I don't know how long it is. It's like 13 miles long from dam to dam. Yeah, and it has got
a big chunk of water.
It's the kind of body of water that will make you an extremely good fisherman, because it's a reservoir, and it has every element to it, from offshore structure in the form of ledges, points, flats, humps.
Yeah,
it has shallow, every kind of cover you would imagine shallow. It's not very heavily populated, so there's not a lot of boat docks. There's a few summer cottages and whatnot, but overall, it's a great fishery.
Yeah, it has a little bit of everything.
Features current.
Yeah, yep. You could, that's the key, is when the dams run water and everything. That's what.
Yeah, river run reservoir.
Yeah, that's what triggers it. And this time of year, when you got low flows, they don't run a lot of water, so it's really tricky to get your timing down to be at the right spot at the right time, and then you can load up. I mean, guys do it. They do it at every tournament. Like I said, I think 14 and a half is going to be right around where you need to be. But it's a cool place to fish. Like I said, you can just go beat the bank and come up with a limit easy. Just go beat the bank.
Yeah.
Just bounce around, look, try different stuff.
12-inch limit too.
It's a 12-inch limit. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Keith Howard's in the house.
Yeah, Keith.
George Ashbridge is in the house. George, how are you?
Barry Leffler. How are you doing, Barry?
Mark.
Yeah, try that one.
Why? You're correct, Mark. It was Hogmasters.
It was Hogmasters, Mark. You're right. Yep, absolutely.
Andre Albanaz wants to know how much a PA license is for out of state. You can fish this body of water with either a PA or a Maryland license.
Yep, Maryland freshwater license. Maryland,
not tidal water.
Yeah, Maryland freshwater license. You must have but it's reciprocal between Maryland.
Well, it is reciprocal, except for on the Maryland half of the pool, you need a Maryland license to go off of the river. So if there's a creek or a super deep cove or pocket, you cannot enter. You can't break the plane from point to point without a Maryland license. So it's kind of reciprocal, but they're still fighting with each other, like the Civil War or something. So it's not totally reciprocal. So maybe someday it will be reciprocal, and they can settle down on that. But the licenses varies in price, depends where you live.
So as you guys can see, Corbin's back.
Yep.
He missed our last show, but he had a good excuse. He was taking care of business with his grandfather. So that's important. So we left him off the hook. I was going to beat up on him pretty bad, but he had a good excuse, and I had to let him slide on it. So
the docks are in, man.
The docks are in. Boats
are in.
Everybody's calmed down. They're not all worried about stuff. So that was a big deal for him. So absolutely. Mike Reinhold, how you doing? Todd Albright, Richie Hall, how are you, Richie? Good to see you guys. So yeah, Corbin's here again. George is here, and my name is Mike Acord. For you guys that don't know, and we got a great show for you tonight. We're gonna get into the
Cameraman
rigs.
Nick is here.
Oh, cameraman Nick's here. Yep, Nick's back in the house. How you doing, Nick?
Good. How's it going, everybody?
Yeah. So Nick's here. He's always helping us out with the camera work, and we got him mic'd up. So he's gonna jump in here every now and then with his massive amount of knowledge that he has.
Huge.
Yeah.
Giant.
So we had a great show tonight. We're gonna go over these crazy hooks, all these millions of hooks. We got aisles of hooks and racks of hooks. We're gonna go over the hooks, what to use for what. We got some new rigs we're gonna go over. Man, it's so confusing. It's unbelievable. So we're gonna try to break some of that down.
We're gonna
for ya.
unconfuse it.
But first, we always do tournament talk, and we're gonna start that right now. Yeah, tournament talk, George. I tell you what, we had some good tournament talk last week. We started on one of the tournaments, and the Potomac tournament, and I think that finalized. And man,
Well,
whoa, we got the first European winner
yeah.
ever in a major bass event. That is very exciting. What went on with that thing there?
Well, we have to spend time on it because it's on one of the premier river systems in the U.S., the Potomac River, which is near and dear to our hearts.
Everybody loves the Potomac River.
Yeah, the Potomac River.
If you don't like the Potomac River, you don't like bass fishing.
No, you don't.
You know what I'm saying?
You don't.
That's just the way that goes down.
It's
I like the
literally-
scenery on the Potomac River this time of year, going up to the sandbars and seeing the ladies in the bikinis and the big old sport fishing boats and the jet skis. And they run across your grass bed when you're trying to flip the beaver and you're like, oh, man.
But thank you.
No, but yeah. And then you run up to DC and you can see them all at the dock bar. I mean, it's just a cool place to fish, man.
I figured you would go there.
Oh,
Corbin.
dude, you have to, man. You have to. I mean, showing up's half the job, but you got to have fun, man.
Absolutely.
Fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the best rivers in the country. I mean it's got a massive storied history as a destination bass zone, and when they're going to have a national tour level event on it, we're going to talk about it.
Absolutely.
And this one was interesting. This one was right on par for what the Potomac should have coughed up. They caught a ton of fish.
I felt so bad for the Hibden.
Lawson
Hibden. Felt
Yeah.
so bad for him.
Yeah. Well, he ended up 7th. A top 10 finish in a tour event's nothing to sneeze at.
No, I'm not saying that, but to leave for 3 days and then just to have your fish leave you on the last day.
Well, tidal waters
That's
are
a bummer.
fickle.
I know.
And that tide was advancing an hour a day. So, day 1, day 2, day 3, he was getting weaker and weaker every day. That tide was moving forward an hour for him every day. So, by the 4th day of the tournament, that morning bite that he was getting on the very last of outgoing, that was now a midday bite.
Oh, right.
In his area. And, there's a lot that goes on with that goes away. You have to abandon ship and change up. And he tried that.
Yeah.
I mean, he did. He tried to make those adjustments. So top 7
Yeah.
finish.
No, not
Top
bad.
7 finish for Lawson Hibden.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
Yeah.
But I felt bad for him. It was just like.
But as always, there are some interesting nuggets for us to gain from studying our tournament fishing buddies. And this was no exception to the rule. I mean, first place was Jacopo Galelli from Italy.
If Sugar from the other podcast is listening right now.
And he fished Potomac Creek.
Yeah, man, you haven't heard that for a long time.
No, you haven't. Potomac Creek's been off the radar. Potomac Creek was a back in the day
Yeah.
hot spot.
Yep.
It has another little creek that feeds into it that had some little secret honey holes in it. And in the very, very back of Potomac Creek Back in the Carp Pen was one of the most famous old school areas on the Potomac River. But Potomac Creek has silted in a lot. Potomac Creek has faded from glory. But the ingredients didn't change much.
Apparently it didn't.
Yeah.
Apparently it's on a rebound or something because he weighed a sack in that last day.
Well, he didn't catch them all on the Potomac Creek on the last day. But what's interesting about his choice, he chose a creek that was, far enough south that he was able to maximize the morning and low tide bite for 3 days. And that was a smart veteran-like move. And he threw, of course, the only lure you need to compete on any national tour level event, a jackhammer, chatterbait by Evergreen / Z-Man.
So awesome.
Yep. And that's what he did. He threw a jackhammer until his arm fell off, and he freaking caught him. He had 20 pounds on the last day, and just put an exclamation point on it.
What a bag for the Potomac.
Yeah.
In June.
Yeah, I mean, 16 pounds a day is awesome in June.
In June, that's awesome. Then to come in with a big old sack like that,
especially on the last day.
I know.
Right?
Man, after everything was beat up,
especially
like that
on the last day
for all those days.
He has a very interesting story. They did a really nice piece on him on the MLF site, sort of giving a little biography on him, and he has a great story. I'd encourage everybody to jump over there and read it. They did a really nice job on that piece. And he is chasing his dream, and he has just made a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Jacopo.
Yeah. I bet you they're partying in freaking Italy right now like it's going out of style.
Yeah. That's one of the things he said. He said he's got a lot of pressure on him because all his people over there expect big things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he represented.
They're probably
eating
spaghetti like it's going out of style, man. Pasta's flying everywhere.
Mollix will be coming out with a signature series bait for him, man. Something like that.
Probably.
He's not on Mollix's pro staff.
I saw. Oh, maybe not yet. But,
yeah.
I mean, maybe soon. You never know, man. That's crazy though.
I don't know.
Everybody's gonna come at him.
And guess who finished in second place again? Mr. Second Place, Michael Neal from Dayton, Tennessee.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just having a hell of a year on both the MLF Big Five and the Bass Pro Tour. So another second for Michael Neal. Michael Neal is from Dayton, Tennessee. He actually owns and operates the Dayton boat dock and grill. He has a nice little tackle business going in there too. But guess what he caught his fish on?
Top water.
Anybody want to take a guess?
Top water and a spinning rod.
Anybody want to take a guess?
Splash it.
A jackhammer. I can't believe nobody guessed that. I mean,
imagine?
I would have guessed jackhammer.
Can you believe that?
He was throwing a jackhammer with a big bite bait kamikaze swim on trailer, and that kamikaze swim on trailer on the back of a jackhammer,
beautiful.
It ain't no joke.
Is money. Beautiful. And I'm happy to report that we are finally resupplied. We got a freaking pallet of big bite baits in this week.
Yeah.
After a 2-month
lag time.
Yeah. Yeah. We were about to drive down to Alabama and see if they were still open.
We're going to send him some plastics.
Yeah.
Pour us a little.
He also threw one of the Spro Essential Series, the E-Pop, which is their 80 size popper, which walks the dog real nice.
I saw that.
He threw that E-Pop.
It's a nice popper.
And
that's a nice popper.
He fished Powell Creek.
Wow.
Powell Creek is that's some turf I really like. He didn't fish the creek, he fished the Moyne River out in front of the creek. He targeted eelgrass and milfoil with a jackhammer and that E-Pop. He's a Daiwa Tatula real guy too. I always I like to study up on these tournaments, but I really dig their setups and stuff.
Yeah.
He's a Denali rod guy and a Tatula reel guy. And of course that Tatula is a fine series of reels.
Fine piece of equipment.
Yeah. Yep. There's Oz checking in.
Yeah.
Oz, yeah, I had a great time coming down and spending some time with the New Jersey Bass Nation. I was the hands and kissing babies at their Susquehanna fishing tackle stop.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got to see my main man Oz. Slipped out of Queens to catch a few fish.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, jumping back on this tournament here quick, Mike, and I know Corbin's itching and dying to jump in here with some breaking data on some very important Potomac bait information. But first, we're going to talk about Cody Meyer.
Cody Meyer.
Cody Meyer
Man, that
is
name.
having a hell of a year.
Yeah, I was going to say you're hearing that name a lot now.
You know, now he's a California guy, but he recently moved to Idaho. And
Why the hell would you move to Idaho if you're going to move?
Follow Brandon Polnick, man.
yeah, maybe he likes
I mean,
Idaho. You know,
Maybe he wants to elk hunt.
I mean,
I
if you're a
don't know.
bass fisherman and you live in California and you're going to move, you move like everybody else does, Texas or Alabama
or Tennessee.
or Arkansas or somewhere
Yeah.
over there, because then you're right in it. But now he still has to drive 30 hours to go anywhere.
that's okay. He doesn't have to drive 60 hours to go anywhere. And guess what? I'm gonna. You're never gonna believe.
Must be an elk hunter,
You're not gonna believe what he caught his fish on.
man.
Swim
Take a
jig.
guess. Take
Swim
a guess.
jig.
Holy cow!
Take a guess.
Senko.
Man,
What do
I
you
think
think?
he was throwing a Carolina rig.
Nope.
Drop shot.
Nope.
What?
No.
Drop shot.
Nope.
Dude,
He was using a
catching him on this. He was catching him on
he
this.
was using a
man.
jackhammer.
A jackhammer.
Yeah, a
Imagine
jackhammer.
that.
A
Imagine
jackhammer.
that. Jeez, oh man.
A jackhammer. And he put a Zako on it.
I tell you what,
He put a Zako on it.
on Sunday, our tournament, I saw him throwing his jackhammer all day long,
If you don't, you're crazy.
24/7.
Yeah.
A whole tournament.
So he also threw a swim jig. He has been throwing the Grass Ripper from Evergreen. And let me just tell you, everybody, the Grass Ripper ain't no joke. It is a designer swim jig. It's an Evergreen swim jig. It's going to be distributed by Daiwa because they distribute all the Evergreen products that are sold in the U.S. And we got them on order. So we are going to be ripping up the grass with the Grass Ripper. Now, on his Grass Ripper, he put the Zako paddle tail
Oh, boot foot.
to give that swim jig a little more
Wobble.
roll, a little more wobble.
Little more. That's why you don't have to shake it
But-
as much.
I must say,
Do the old Alabama shake.
when we were talking about this tournament last week, we ended up talking title strategies, and we talked in depth about running the tide. We also talked about the other strategy, which we like to call camping.
Staying on a spot and waiting for him to bite.
Cody Meyer went camping,
Hmm.
and this is interesting. He finished third camping in the Mattawoman. He did make a couple little jaunts over to Leesylvania to fish for some ABCs. But in 2017 or 19, when the FLW tour was there last, he finished fourth, and he was camping in the Mattawoman.
There's a lot of fish in that Mattawoman.
Yeah. So, you know, you guys
Restocked every weekend.
might be wondering what we're talking about camping. And camping is, instead of worrying about the tides and getting spun out by the tides and my tide's moving an hour every day, getting later, getting worse. No. Cody Meyer says, I go to an area that I know that has a lot of fish in them. I go to an area that I know, I put my trolling motor down, and then at the end of the day, I pick my trolling motor up. And in between there, I grind until I run into them, or the tide, which I know nothing about, gets right. And
Yeah.
that's what we refer to as camping. So the camping strategy worked really well for Cody Meyer.
Yeah.
Third place. He was fishing the 7.3 Tatula Elite medium heavy multi-purpose rod with the Elite Series Tatula flip and pitch reel. You know, he's a big Daiwa guy. He's Daiwa Pro, Daiwa. He's like the face of Daiwa, him and Ish and a couple of those other guys. So Cody Meyer, third place on a jackhammer.
Love it.
On a jackhammer.
Love it.
Yeah. Mike,
Cody Meyer.
I'd like to throw a shout out to fifth place, Adrian Avina. Also,
Man, what a great he's just a great fisherman.
Yeah.
He's a competitive, crazy competitive fisherman.
There's that.
And he knows a little bit about the tides, doesn't he?
And he does know a little bit about the tides. Because if he ain't fishing the Potomac, he's fishing the Atlantic.
Yeah.
And I ain't talking about out of his Bass Cat.
Yeah.
I'm talking about out of his charter boat
Yeah.
that his business, Jersey Boy Charters, is on. And I mean, he knows tidal water fisheries.
He really does.
Yeah.
Now, he wasn't camping.
No, and I was watching him on a structure. He was fishing a dock, and he was there, and he's like, yeah, he said, I needed to be here right now because I had some bites here every day, at this time, at a certain part of this tide. He said, this is why I'm here. And he was explaining to it, why he was there at that particular time. He said, the water needs to drop just a little bit more. And he said, I should get a bite on this wall right here, where the dock met this wall. And, then they switched. They switched to somebody else. And I'm like, damn it, I wanted to see him get up to that wall and fish that wall. But yeah, he's a great fisherman. He was flipping a jig.
He was flipping a jig, all-terrain
Yep.
rattling jig.
Yep.
And he was throwing a spro frog on low tide in a few creeks. When he says a few creeks, he probably fished like 5 creeks from DC to Aquia.
What are you saying? He didn't throw a jackhammer?
Believe it or not, he did not.
Yeah.
He flipped a jig. He threw a frog. He threw a spro frog in natural red. We love the spro frog in natural red.
Yeah.
And
Where'd he end up? What place?
5th. And he threw a buzzbait.
Wow.
Wow. And
He's a hell of a fisherman, man.
Lawson Hibden fished 7th. Lawson Hibden said something that Corbin was talking about to me the other day. And we had a nice conversation and thought it would be great segue on our live, Tackle Shop Live. Lawson Hibden was fishing a jig as one of his baits. And his trailer was sapphire blue. So for all you out there in TV land that do not know what sapphire blue is,
Well, that's a typical tidal water color for us.
which is exactly what Corbin and I were talking about the other day.
Did you ever throw out in the tidal water, Corbin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit. I mean, a little bit from time to time.
So what's the deal with that, Corbin?
I don't know.
What is the
I was going to ask you, George.
Well, I can tell you this much.
I know it works.
I can tell you this much. If you're on a body of water that's tidal,
That's actually pretty nice.
which is going to have a little bit of a dinge to it, you need to have a sapphire blue trailer on your jig.
So
Some of the guys were fishing sapphire blue trailers on their chatter wagons.
we've been
Yes, they were.
we've been fishing this combination down there for years.
Yeah.
I mean, ever since we fished the Potomac.
Yeah.
And it's always been when they get on that. It's like when they get on that, they really are on it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot they don't need it.
Oh, I never heard of that. Sometimes.
We have to go to the black and blue,
Yeah.
black with a blue flake or whatever like that. But when they go blue, that's all they want to eat.
Yeah.
And but one of the interesting things about the way we rig this, I don't know if you can zoom in on this, Nick, to give it some bulk in the body. And this is a
That's a Zoom. That's a Zoom super chunk.
super chunk. And if you look at this, Nick,
Also known as the rabbit ears.
what we do is
Rabbit
we
ears.
thread that on like you would a grub or on a
Turn that thing sideways. There you go.
you can kind of see how
There you go. See the hook?
yeah, you can kind of see how we rig that. We go, we don't pinch it all the way at the end. If you want a longer bait, you can pinch it at the end, but you want to shorten it up a little bit and you want to give that body a little bit more bulk, you just thread it on all the way through. And it's a nice little tip for you guys, to try. Sometimes they don't want that real big long bait. They want a more compact bait and they want a little bit more bulk in the body. You can put that that chunk on by threading it on like you would a twister tail or a swim bait, on the jig head.
Skips real good like that
Yeah,
too.
it skips real good. And then you see how it kind of holds that skirt out and gives it just a little bit more body and a little bit more flair. So that's something for you guys to try. I like it also on the Ultra Vibes speed chunk.
Yeah.
That Ultra Vibe tail, when you want to swim it a little bit more, you want to, that's not, I don't use it just that. I don't use it for a swim jig, but if you want to just swim that jig a little more and you want that vibration, that's the way I do it all the time. I always thread it, and it has those little hooks on the end, and I like that Ultra Vibe on the back of it too. So
Mike, I also like both of these chunks, but I also, me, I like that old school
yeah,
plastic pork chunk, the number 11 and the number 1. What's now
Yeah.
called the small and the big.
yeah,
It looks like the old pork chunk.
yeah.
So in your little chunk bag in your boat, make sure you have a couple bags of Sapphire Blue. And Sapphire Blue works nice in your plastics as flipping baits too. I mean, as evidenced by one of the most
Yeah.
famous flipping colors, Okeechobee Crawl.
Yeah, right.
As evidenced by one of the best flipping baits you'll ever flip on the Potomac River, as well as many others, the Sweet Beaver and the Penetration color,
Mhm.
which is a black and blue laminated to a
Yeah.
sapphire blue. So
Yeah, and everybody has a color like that, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Well, there was another bait too that played a lot in this tournament.
what was that?
The Berkeley Pit Boss.
Oh,
Did you see the amount of people that had a pit boss on in some way, shape, or form?
Oh,
Whether
yeah.
it was like Adrian Avina had it on a buzz bait, people had it on a chatter bait, they had
Yeah.
it on a just pitching it around.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's a great bait.
It is very versatile.
That's a
and
great bait. Well, Berkeley's baits are hot, man. I mean, they don't make any of them. I mean, but they're hot. They're max scent.
Yeah.
They're max scent. That max scent chigger crawl that's coming out. That thing's going to be. That thing's going to be
Yeah.
wicked. Because they eat that max scent.
Mike Barr, the pig and jig back in the day. That's what we called it, Mike.
That's pretty much it.
That's what started the whole thing, pig and jig.
That's
And
pretty much it.
I always called it the jig and pig, but you can call it the pig and jig if you want.
Yeah.
Russell Fuller, how you doing?
Tomato.
Yeah. So that kind of wraps up the tournament talk. Congratulations again
Yeah.
to Italia.
Jacopo Gelele.
Iggy.
Ciao, Jacopo.
Have a meatball on me, brother.
Last but not least on the tournament world, get your off for the Bass Pro Tour event on the St. Lawrence River.
Oh yeah.
Now you're gonna see some fish getting caught up there.
Yeah.
That's going to be a slugfest.
They're
up
going
there.
out of Messina, so that puts them up the river a pretty good chunk from the lake, probably about an hour boat ride from the lake.
Are they having off limits?
I do not know.
Oh, okay.
I do not know.
We'll find that out tomorrow.
Yeah, 9:15 to 6 for the next 4 days. You need to be on live. This is going to be a great one. And then next week on Tackle Shop Live, we're going to talk about the St. Lawrence River, and we're going to talk about some really cool techniques for that kind of fishing.
I'm predicting largemouth play in this derby because of the format
Yeah.
and how many of them there are.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something?
Well, there's always a guy that does largemouth, and I think last year in the Elite Series, one of the guys did pretty well.
Brock Mosley.
Yeah, he did.
But that was a 5-fish limit.
Right. But
Yeah.
but where you
This
can
is an
catch-
everything counts.
Ah,
so
I mean, you can catch 150 1-pound smallies. I don't know what that cut weight's going to be.
it's got to be over 2 pounds though.
I don't know.
Yeah. Usually it's 2.
I don't know. They vary it from
Yeah.
from body of water.
no,
if
up
it's-
there, they're probably going to be cut weight's going to be 4.5.
If it's a small cut weight, you can catch about 150 smallies a day up there and ding that thing up pretty good.
Wow.
So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Can't wait to watch.
Yeah.
Can't wait to watch.
Well, that is awesome right there. That was good talk right there. I can't wait to watch the live on that. And like we said, congratulations to Jacopo on his win. Geleli on his win. And now what we need to do now is we need to delve. I said it, delve
Deep.
deep into our next segment, which is the madness of hooks.
Yeah.
Hooks, 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 hooks. What an absolute disaster when it comes to hooks. Man, there's so many of them out there now. It used to be simple. It was a sprout hook. It was an offset hook. And you had 3 or 4 sizes in your box.
Right.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's a disaster, Mike.
It's confusing to most people that walk in this store or get on their on our website and try to shop all these frigging hooks. I mean, it's out of control. You've got, G finesse that are coated with these little things in the back. You have, finesse wire. You got heavy duty wire. You have round bends. You have, regular bends. You got extra wide gaps. You have everything you can possibly imagine in hooks.
And multiple brands making multiple styles in all different sizes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
like a
crazy.
3.0 in a VMC offset is different than a 3.0 and an owner offset, which is different than a 3.0. And every 3.0 is different.
Yeah. That's why I use this one. This is my 3.0 bluegill hook. Throw it on about 4-pound test. And you just let them swim with it. You know what I mean, Mikey?
Well, that's a substantial hook.
I
that ain't going to straighten out on a 65-pound braid, Matt. I
don't know.
Hey, you know what you can do with that? Nose hook a fluke.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Maybe for like a tarpon or something.
Yeah, that'd be a whole lot of fun. But
Yep. Tuna.
So we're gonna go. I think the only way we can make sense out of this is I think we're gonna start with some of the new hooks that came out this year, and we're just going to kind of highlight them so you can see where it might fit into what you're doing right now. And as we go through them, we're going to tell you what we would use them for. And I think we're just going to talk about the new releases right now, George. Then we'll slide into, hooks we use for what.
Yeah. So there's a few new hooks that have come onto the market in the past year,
and they're exciting.
They are. And they're not all out yet due to all the supply chain issues, but a lot of them are.
Yeah.
Maybe not all the sizes.
No, but we got nice sampling of them in. And
yeah. So let's break down a couple. We're not going to do them all, but let's break down a couple of the hooks that have a lot of interest and are promising that we've been talking about. It's got some buzz to them.
Yeah.
And let's start off with the evolution of the Tokyo rig.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what a Tokyo rig is, you're going to need to come out from under your rock and, maybe look at your phone or something and Google Tokyo rig. But basically, the Tokyo rig started out as a wide gap hook, EWG style hook, and it's got a wire attached to a solid ring going through the eye of the hook.
Yep.
And then it's got a little swivel that you tie onto.
Yep.
And what the wire is you put your weight on the wire. So you can put a bullet weight on here and bend the edge of the wire over.
Yep.
You can put 2 bullet weights on there back to back and get a clacking sound out of it.
Yeah.
Whatever. But the concept is, it's almost like a wire leader mini drop shot.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can maintain bottom, you can maintain bottom with your wire and your weight, and you can just kind of shake your bait. Now, this thing has evolved from the wide gap.
Yeah, from the wide gap
to the flipping.
Okay, here we go. This is
so
now these hooks. So
the purpose of the flipping Tokyo rig was for what a lot of people were calling power shotting.
Yeah. So this is flipping.
Or some people call it like a Mendoza rig, where you would have your heavy weight on there going down first with your bait behind.
Yeah.
Or power shotting. So now we have the finesse NACO Tokyo rig. And what's cool about this is we have a lighter wire hook, Mike, and we have a very nice. You're really not gonna be able to see this, but there's a very, very nice prong of fluorocarbon that is attached to the hook with the resin to act as a keeper. So if you wanted to do a Texas rig with your finesse worm, okay, this would be the hook. So this they come in different sizes. Okay, they come in different sizes. This is a 1. No, yeah, a 1. And a 1 would be nice for like a little finesse worm, like a robo worm, or this is a zoom finesse worm.
Dream shot.
Yeah, something delicate. And now you're tied on here, and your sinker's down here, and your worm's here. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have the finesse Nico.
Yeah, which is it's smaller. The wire's smaller. You can fish it.
Lighter wire hook.
Yeah, lighter wire hook. You can actually put it on a spinning rod now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's almost like a drop shot hook.
Yeah.
That's designed for Texas rigging.
Yeah.
Or
all your smaller, finer baits, but the thing about it is you can put it on a spinning rod now instead of having to use a bait caster, because with the bait casters or with the other hooks, they're so heavy, and they're designed for flipping and cover and grass and that kind of stuff that you would put it on a bait caster.
You can do a real little sinker on here.
You can do a small little sinker on there.
You can do a couple of little 16th ounce sinkers back to back.
Exactly
for some
what
noise.
it says. Finesse fishing.
So that's an exciting hook. That's the third edition of the Tokyo rig lineup from VMC.
You ever get involved with them, Corbin?
Yeah, a little bit from time to time.
Yeah.
I mean, it ain't my game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't
Yeah.
If I was gonna do that, I think I'd just use a regular drop shot. I mean,
yeah.
For me, my question would be, why would I use a Tokyo rig on a spinning rod over a drop shot when I can shorten the leader? I mean, that's just my personal preference, and I don't have to deal with a swivel. I mean, I'm direct. I'm tied direct. I'm not, less play. That would be my question. As a, and again, I'm fishing current a lot, so that's my question for you guys.
Oh well, it's a much more compact, easy to rig, ready to go out of the package. Don't have to do anything with it.
And you're keeping that bait just a little bit off the bottom.
It's just a little bit off. It's kind of a controlled size, and the whole swivel deal really gives that thing a lot of bounce and action.
Okay.
And it's a different presentation than a drop shot.
And
it's not really a drop
effective.
shot. It is. It's very effective.
It's very effective.
Yep. So then,
the original Tokyo rig came storming onto the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Tokyo rig, and I've seen it in action on the river. I had a guy come in, man, with a Tokyo rig with a 3.5 inch tube on it.
Right.
First cast, he puts a 3.5 pounder in the boat, and I'm like, what the heck? Second cast, he puts another 3.5 pound fish in the boat, and I'm like, man, this thing's something. And so it proved it's right for me. And he had a tube on his.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and your bait is unweighted.
Yeah.
The only weight that's on the bait is the hook.
Yeah.
So
that was pretty cool.
It's kind of along that line.
Wasn't a lot of current though. It was like a
summertime.
It was in the spring, but it really was a slow current where we were fishing. So
Gotcha.
So it was different.
Like a pocket.
So what the one that's similar.
It's similar, but it's not.
So this is similar.
It's similar, but it has a slightly different purpose.
This one here we're going to talk about next is the Geica rig. And it's kind of here's another one of these things, what the heck is this thing? What do you do with it?
Here's the whole deal.
How do you fish it?
Here's
What's
the whole
this all
deal.
about? Nobody gets it. What is this?
No, I do get it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying a lot of people don't get it.
This is the deal with this. This is going down
Just
to the bottom
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your pull point is here.
Right.
Okay. Your pull point's here.
Are you
So-
tying onto the split ring, or are you tying onto the hook?
Yeah, it's a
It's a welded
it's
ring,
a
or-
solid ring.
Yeah.
So you're tying onto the ring.
You're tying onto the ring.
tying onto the ring.
Okay. Let me see if I can hold this up here
You're
and get it.
tying onto the ring. So it's going to be, on the bottom like that. And they come in a couple interesting things. So they come in sizes from 2.0 on up, from an 1/8 ounce on up. Plus, you can buy the weights. Now, these weights are interesting because they're interchangeable.
Oh,
They have a big snap on them.
yeah.
And you can buy the weight is molded. The size of the weight's molded right onto the weight.
Oh, it is. It is. It
And
does
you
have
can
a mark.
interchange. So if you have a small hook and you wanted a heavy weight to get down through some grass,
It's just like a size. Say you wanted to go. This is a 1/8 of an ounce.
yeah, it's printed right on there.
Yeah. So this is an 1/8 of an ounce. You unsnap this one. The current kind of picked up, or you're in heavier grass, and you want to go to a little like a quarter.
Look at that big
Snap
daddy.
it out. Yeah, and then they have all the way up to what's that son of a
That's
gun?
that's a 3/8.
Damn, that's a freaking head knocker right there, man.
Let me show you this bad boy.
Look at that one, Corbin.
Yeah, is this something like you would use in open water, on wood, on grass,
Yes.
rock? I mean, like what?
Yes.
All the
All
above.
of them. Okay.
Yes.
But it's really effective flipping.
Okay.
Very effective flipping. It's a different look in the water flipping down, like George says. When you pull on it,
Right.
it kicks.
It has a nice. I can't get this thing out of the package, man.
Well, you should leave it in there.
Yeah, I'll just leave it in
Yeah,
there.
you can leave it in.
That's a 3/8.
Look at this head banger right here, Nick.
That's the Geico rig.
Look, somebody pisses you off and gets close to you, like we were talking about that.
I'm sorry, I'm going with this.
You could fire this thing at him. This is like chucking a spear, man.
Right here.
Look at that thing.
Yeah, so that the if you remember back a few years ago, Mike, Owner Hooks had their version of this.
Yeah.
They had it in lead, they had it
Yeah.
in tungsten.
Yeah.
It's very effective. Your bait is moving a lot more than it is on a Texas rig.
Right. And
Um,
it's probably a different movement, more of a,
You're getting a lot more movement out. Well, it depends what you have on there for a bait, but you're
That's-
getting a lot more movement out of your bait
yeah.
than you are with a regular Texas rig, and it's a different look.
Yeah.
And it catches fish. This is Gamakatsu, so you have your EWG. Your EWG hook is a super line hook, so you got a good hook there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the Geico rig.
Yeah. So
And-
that's the two rigs that kind of came out here. The Tokyo rig was the first one, and then this Geico rig kind of came out. Like George said, the owner had it first. They called it so they probably still make it.
I think they discontinued it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It had like a thing on it, but these are just two of the rigs that were kind of confusing. We thought we would let you guys know what
In
it
the
was all
Geico
about.
rig, you can buy packs of just the Geico weight.
Okay.
So if you have a 2.0 hook, which comes in 1/8 and 3/16,
That's handy.
and you
Corbin.
want a quarter, well, you can't buy a 2.0 hook with a quarter, but you can buy the quarter.
Yeah.
And vice versa. If you want, a bigger hook with a lighter weight, you can't buy that. So, and you can fine tune it. So, I would encourage you to try the Geico rig. I would encourage you to try Tokyo
rig.
rigging.
Absolutely a Tokyo rig. I mean, that thing's proven. That thing's proven.
Just to see,
You got to start throwing that more, Corbin.
I've thrown it a couple times.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
just to see. I mean, there's a lot of learn. I'm going to admit straight up, I have very little knowledge of, both in my fishing. I mean,
Well,
I need to spend time.
ever
and
since
learn 'em.
these things came out, be honest, you were bronze back chasing like crazy.
Right.
Yeah, that's what you've been doing for the last 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing a lot of smallmouth
You
fishing.
know,
Yeah.
if you would have been still fishing the Potomac a lot in the bay and doing all this, I'm sure I know you would have got into some of this.
Yeah. And I don't like to fish slow for smallies, so I'm always
No,
power
you're
fishing
always
them.
power fishing. So
So-
I understand why you didn't
You feel my pain?
really. Yeah, I mean, no, you know, I'm not feeling your pain
But
because you
guess
were
what
freaking-
came out of the
you were
garage?
stacking some freaking
Guess what came out of the garage a couple weeks ago?
yeah. We got that big big
tractor.
Skeeter.
The tractor?
The
chat-
big old Skeeter is and running good.
Yep.
Running real good.
It looks like a spaceship with all the stuff hanging off.
Oh yeah.
George got the 360 put on. He
Yeah.
got the Panoptics put on.
I don't want to brag, Mike, but I'm the only angler that's sponsored by 3 electronics companies. I got a full ride out of Lawrence.
You've been riding that, yeah. You've been riding that for
And
forever.
Hummingbird picked me up earlier in the year, and now Garmin has got me on their pro
Signed you
team.
on.
So
and they're all okay with you doing that. Huh?
yeah, they're all okay with me. You know, I have to in my contract. I have to run all 5 at the same time, and my jersey's a little confusing.
Yeah.
You know, I got logos: Hummingbird, Lawrence, Garmin. You know, so
Yeah. So now
that's your rig.
that's the rig.
Some
right.
of your new rigs.
Right.
Now there are some very interesting new hooks.
Yeah.
I would like to talk about.
Okay.
Can I do that?
Yeah, but before we do that, George, can we like take a step back as we're talking about hooks here for the viewers out there, and like let's talk about the science. Okay, let's talk about why you use a heavy cover hook, the difference between a wire, the thinness, the thickness, the types, like, you know, the penetration aspect of it, because you're not going to throw a thin wire hook like a drop shot hook in the grass on a flipping stick, you know, and kind of matching the.
Well, I think this next hook is
Yeah.
going to explain that perfectly.
Okay.
So, you know, kind of what Corbin's alluding to here is why this next hook was manufactured. And it is a old school round bend offset worm. Okay, so the offset worm is kind of like your it's the hook you grew up with.
It's your worm hook.
It's the hook you grew up with.
Yeah.
You know,
You
it's
do everything
it's an offset. It's an offset. It's an offset worm hook, meaning it has the little zigzag at the top here to hold your worm in place. And this is a round bend. So, you know, to eliminate confusion here, a round bend means that the point is parallel to the shaft, forming like a perfect U right there. What that gives you is more gap. So a 3-0 round bend has more gap and more bite than a 3-0 sprout bend. So let's see. Let me show you a sprout bend. I got one right here. So here is a Gamakatsu sprout bend. Now this is actually a robo worm rebarb, but they use a Gamakatsu hook. So if you look at a sprout bend,
it's not the rounded. It kind of rounds up and then it straightens out.
yeah, it's sort of like a
V-ish.
yeah, it kind of and then it comes over. So you don't have as much gap on the sprout bend. It's a different pull point as far as the eye to the point. The round bend. Okay. Now these are not the same size hooks, but
No, but you can see how this up here is rounded. It's
more gap.
It's rounded off at the top right
This
here.
gap, if these were the same size hooks, this gap would be vastly greater.
Yeah.
So this is a sprout. This is a round bend. Now, what Corbin was alluding to on the wire, when you're fishing a heavy rod with heavy line, it works a lot, but you know, you're getting flex. Your hook flexes, okay? You can see that hook flexing there. Maybe not. So now they have for 2021 a Superline offset, round bend. So this bottom hook and this top hook are the same size hook. Okay. The bottom hook is a super line wire. And what that means is the wire is a heavier gauge. So it has much less flex. So for your braid on your heavier rod, and they went ahead and they accentuated this little offset up here to kind of lock that bait into place a little more, since you're probably going to be putting this in heavy cover that's going to be pulling on your bait. So for 2021, Gama come out with the Superline offset worm hook in a 2.0 through a 5.0. And that is a great addition to their lineup. It gives you that heavier wire to go ahead and fish your heavier rod with your heavier braided line, not have to deal with that flex. So hopefully that explains to you a little bit about the flex, the wire, and all that good stuff.
Well, the big thing with the Y is when you're, and the Corbin can get in this a little bit too. When you're like the time when you want to use the fine wire hook, Corbin, as opposed to
Standard wire.
give us an illustration of when you would use the flipping heavy duty wire or the thin wire, or like an regular EWG as opposed to a heavy duty wire.
Yeah. So like for me, you got to know the size fish that you're around. It starts with the size fish that you're around, the technique that you're fishing, and the rod and reel setup. So I try to use the lightest wire hook possible for the application. And the reason being is because with a lighter wire hook, you get easier penetration. Okay. Like meaning the point gets into the fish's mouth a lot quicker. Yep. Now, if I'm fishing heavy grass, I'm fishing 20-pound fluorocarbon or braid, I'm going to use an EWG, which is a thicker Superline style hook with a thicker shank, or I'm going to use a Trocar if I'm, like a straight shank hook, if I'm flipping like heavy cover. But if I'm fishing a tree, and I'm fishing like a little finesse worm on a spinning rod, I'm going to use a light wire hook.
Sure.
If I'm throwing a Senko in isolated grass patches around fish that the biggest one may be 4 or 5 pounds, maybe I'm going to use just a generic EWG hook. Like for me, I'd rather have, you have to hook them to land them, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people will try and they'll have too heavy of a hook and you'll see them reel down and they'll set the hook so hard in this big clump of grass or on isolated stuff and not even get the hook in the fish's mouth, because if they're using a medium heavy rod, it never penetrates, you get stretched, whatever happens. So for me, I'd prefer to go with a standard wire hook, maybe even a light wire hook for certain applications with a spinning rod and use that stuff. So like when I'm throwing a fluke, I use the regular. I mean, if the wind kicks up and you need to get a bait down because you're throwing something weightless, then maybe you go to the heavier wire hook, but it's all a science to everything that we do.
Sure.
And for me, you gotta hook them to land them. So that's kind of the way that I look at stuff.
Here's a good example,
my take on heavy wire, thin wire, and I've seen this firsthand. I've seen this firsthand, and it blew me away. Pre-flipping heavy wire hook. So pre this hook right here, when all we really had was the regular wire.
More like this.
Yeah. What's this one here?
This would be like this would be what we would call a heavy cover hook.
Yeah.
This would be a heavy flipping hook.
Is that a Superline hook or is this a Superline hook?
This is a Superline hook.
Okay.
This is a super heavy.
Yeah. So we only had this hook right here, which is the thinner wire one. And when flipping and punching first came out, and this was very interesting. We were trying to do this with flipping sticks and braid, with 65-pound braid, and we were flipping in there. We were setting the hook on these fish and pulling like hell to get them out of the cover. So you're pulling like hell. The rod's bent, the line's not stretching, and the fish would come off. and you would re-rig and you'd throw back out again, and you would going along, punching. Takes forever, and then you'd finally get one to bite it. You'd set the hook. And they're all good fish. You know, you set the hook, you're pulling, and the fish would come off. Well, what we found out and what we realized was the hook would open up, the fish would drop off the hook, and the hook would spring back. So when you brought your hook back, you were looking at it, and if you didn't really look close, you wouldn't see that it was opened up just a little bit. So what has happened, and evolution happened, was they came out with the Superline hook, which is the next one above what we were looking at.
Perfect.
And it fixed all the problems. It stopped opening up. You landed all your fish. You could put the constant amount of pressure on there, and you could get that fish out of that heavy cover. And then for some reason, they felt like, well, that wasn't enough. We needed to make a grappling hook.
Well, that's your Florida,
Yeah.
Matt, and Texas, Sam Rayburn, Matt,
Yeah.
Giant, Lake Falcon Giants.
Yeah. So they went from a 7.6 flipping stick, which was the common flipping rod back in the 90s, to 8 foot
Heavy, extra heavy, extra heavy.
whoop your ass, type of rod that you could use as a pole vault stick.
Down in Texas, they call them a grass rake.
Yeah. And they
Now,
were
see,
still
they're flipping hydrilla.
Yeah, but then they were opening up a heavy duty hook.
Right. Big fish.
Big fish
Big
in
grass.
that big grass. They were opening that hook up. So then they had to go to
Super heavy.
the super heavy hook, which they came out with a couple years ago. And
And what you're referring to, Mike, also in this flipping style hook, here is your wide gap version.
Yep.
So probably the most famous hook ever created in the history of hooks
EWG
is an EWG. Okay.
Corbin, you probably have 10,000 of them in your boat.
They're
What,
so
EWGs?
versatile.
I have a lot.
I mean, if you're fishing a fluke, if you're fishing a Senko, if you're fishing a big, whatever,
I use them on my beavers.
absolutely. When you're flipping a creature bait.
Yep.
Now,
Carolina ring. I love it for Carolina
years
ring.
ago, they did the same thing Mike was talking about. They came out with the super line hook. Okay. And it solved that problem of losing big fish on heavy tackle because the hook was flexing.
Yep.
Now you can really get tweaky and tricky.
Yeah.
With your hook weight, you can use a super line hook on a weightless bait to get a heavier, faster fall.
Correct.
I mean, you
That's
can do
what Corbin alluded to.
right. You can do all that kind of stuff. Now,
So a finesse hook.
there's a lot to it, right?
Yeah, a finesse hook thin wire. Just look at it this way: finesse hook thin wire is light line.
Yeah. If it
A
says
spinning rod, light line, flexing the rod.
open water, maybe. I mean, if it says a light wire in the hook,
Yeah.
it's not, for me, it's not an all around hook.
No.
A regular EWG hook
Yeah.
or a regular worm hook is your all around hook.
This is
Sure.
a light wire.
And then your super line is your,
Heavy cover.
Yeah.
This is a
Yeah.
light wire.
So you don't have to have.
This is lighter than
Yeah.
a standard hook. This is a specifically light wire hook that's made to fish a spinning rod.
Drop shot. That's a drop
Light-
shot hook.
It's a drop shot hook. This is a robo worm rebarb hook. It's made to fish light, and it's a light hook
Sure.
well, and
purposely.
And George, can you hold that up once? And you guys, there's a reason why I have this hook up here and I keep showing it. For those of you guys that do not know, when you set the hook on a fish, the hook in George's hand is going to penetrate the fish's mouth much easier than this right here. So the thicker the hook,
Yeah.
the harder it's going to get to penetrate the fish's mouth when you set the hook. In other words, your braid, your fluorocarbon, those stiffer tapers, there's extra fast tapers. When you use that stiffer hook,
You know what, Corbin? You'll see that this week.
Yeah.
Up at Thousand Islands, how those
Yep.
guys set the hook. Remember, they just pressure set. They
They
go
just-
back. They
Yep.
don't set the hook. They just pressure the rod back and start reeling. And that is a thin wire hook that's penetrating because they're using 6-pound test line or even lighter. Some of these guys might even be lighter than that.
Right.
And they're fishing these thin hooks. So all it takes is a little bit of pressure just to pressure it in. It doesn't take a big giant hook set.
It's kind of like
Well-
a real set.
Well, and look, and guys, as we're talking about hook diameter, look at the original Ned rig head. You know, like that
Yeah.
super light wire hook, easy
Yeah.
penetration, spinning rod, all that stuff. But I mean, I wanted to touch base on that because it's really important. You're not going to see guys throwing the thicker wire hooks up there for drop shot. And I mean,
Yeah,
in terms of like, they're not going to pull up and get
Right.
that same hook penetration that they will with that thin wire hook.
exactly.
So you have to have a variety of, you know, hooks, whether it's thin, regular,
Yeah.
thick, and you got to know when to use them and
Well,
whatnot.
good.
So,
I'm glad you touched on that
Yeah.
because that really, you know, that really is a big thing, and that's why there's all these different hooks because of all the different techniques that are out there. You know, drop shot and got so big.
Yep.
You know, these last 4 or 5 years, drop shot and got huge. So, that's why you use those style hooks.
Yeah.
Now, George, there's another technique that kind of, it's not new, but it was new. It got big last year. Was Nico fishing?
Yeah. The last couple years we've seen the Nico rig, which we did a show on.
Yeah.
We've seen the Nico rig become a major player.
Yeah.
Guys like Shin Fukai
Yeah.
have paid for a lot with a Nico rig.
Wheeler.
And,
Yeah.
you know, the hook of choice there is a straight shank hook.
Yep.
Now, you can basically take your straight shank drop shot hook, okay, and use that. Open style, straight
Mhm.
shank drop shot hook.
Mhm.
Because in essence,
That's all it is.
you're rigging it with an O-ring.
Yeah.
Or a Nico ring.
Yeah.
And, you know, the only hook is in line with your worm and it's exposed. Now, but if you're in cover, the big deal has become a weedless Nico hook, which
Yeah.
I know you like this hook a lot. This
Yeah.
is the Mustad
Yep.
Titan X Wacky.
Yep.
And I know you like this hook a lot. It has a resin eye closing the eye and also holding the fluorocarbon weed guard that does a really nice job. You can't really see it.
Yeah. They had it on your shirt. It's so much better. Yeah. Sticks out really good on there.
Yeah. So that's a great hook.
So
And
then,
it has a smooth coating on it.
so talk about some of these newer hooks too that just were released. The G Power.
Yeah, so G Power is from Gamakatsu, and it's their tournament grade wire.
So it's a strong wire.
It's a strong wire, and it has anytime you see G Power, it has nano smooth coating.
Nano, and that's for penetration.
Yeah, it's slippery.
Very slippery.
Slippery.
Goes through your plastic.
Hayabusa.
Hayabusa
The
has it.
Hayabusa Hook Company, which is a premier hook company. This is what a Hayabusa bag looks like. They're a premier hook company out of Japan, and they've got a beautiful lineup of hooks. All their hooks just about have the NRB coating on it. Okay, so the G Power from Gamakatsu, the Hayabusa, they are a little bit notched up. So a couple of the hooks that they brought out from Gamakatsu this year in G Power, the Aaron Martin Signature Series, are the Stinger trailer hook. And this has got a tricky little eye on it, which is pretty cool. So eye is kind of a teardrop shape. So it's a teardrop shape eye to fit over the barb on the spinnerbait or the chatterbait or the buzzbait. It's got a little bit of an up angle to it so that when it's on the hook, it's at the right angle. It's not being forced up or down. And it comes in 4 different sizes. So that's your G Power Stinger trailer hook. Pretty nice. It comes packed with, and we talked about these on a previous show. It comes packed with the little silicone stoppers. These come in. We sell these loose. They in packs of their own. They come in like 5 sizes. They're so useful for so many things. But you put a stopper on your spinnerbait. You put your spinnerbait hook on. Then you put another stopper on there, and you can position that spinnerbait trailer hook. So that's a cool little setup. And then the other hook that came out from G Power, and I got a lot of hooks in front of me. Here it is. So this is also the tournament grade. Now this is the flip and punch. Okay. Now last year, if you'll recall, they brought out the Aaron Martin's finesse flip and hook. Finesse heavy cover worm hook, they call it. It came all the ways down to a little number 2
Thin wire.
that he was using
But
for
strong thin wire.
Yeah, he was using this for Texas rigging his drop shots. And then it went all the ways up to a bigger flipping hook, as you see here. Not huge, but bigger. And now, as we just had our big wire discussion, obviously the flip and punch hook is more of a heavier wire. So this is your finesse heavy cover worm, and this is your flip and punch. Nano smooth coat coating, tournament grade wire. This hook is new this year. What's cool about these hooks that they do in this Aaron Martin series is the keeper. It's molded on tin. Okay, so it holds your worm in place really well. Because one of the things that is a knock on straight shanked hooks is their high maintenance. The worms are getting torn up. You're going through tons of baits. They're sliding down your hook all the time. This is a really good setup on that. If you'll notice on the Hayabusa straight shanked hook, they have a really good solution that is designed to hold your hook really well, your worm. You notice this is a heavier wire. So this is a good, it's called the FPP straight shank. It's a flipping hook. But it has a fluorocarbon loop tied into it. So that's actually tied on with thread wrapped on there.
Hold your plastic in place.
But it's a little forgiving, so it won't tear your bait quite as easily. So it holds it good, it locks it in place good. So, Hayabusa, Gamakatsu, Owner has the jungle flipping hook. These companies are really giving us overload on options to really fine tune our presentations. I mean, we have 3 or 4 wire sizes in the same style hook.
Yeah.
We have sizes from Texas rig drop shot to flipping up Hydrilla gorillas.
Yeah, now we know
why, how, what?
The deal is with the wire sizes.
Yes.
Now you know how to use.
Yeah.
Now one question to me, Corbin, for you is wide gap hook. What would be, when would you use a wide gap hook for most of the time? What's one technique that you use it for, like, most of the time?
Weightless Senko.
Weightless Senko.
Weightless Senko. Throwing a super fluke.
Super fluke. I think it's one of the greatest super fluke hooks ever.
I'll be honest with you. I use it for pretty much everything except for a finesse worm or straight tail worm. So for me, it all depends on the girth of the worm or the plastic that you're using. So, for example, okay, you're not going to take, you can, but I'm not going to use a small hook. I'm going to use a wide gap hook on a brush hog. Look at the difference in the size.
Yeah.
Because when you set the hook, you want to have gap. You don't want that hook to be like buried in that bait already that you can't even.
Right.
That's important. That it has nowhere to go. Basically, if you take and you try to put this on this hook right here, okay, which people will do. If I were to thread that on, there's like no room to.
Yeah.
Hook. See, there's no gap.
No gap at all.
Whereas if you put this same hook on this worm,
give him an EWG the hook there.
You got a lot of gap.
Yeah.
So to me, it's all about having the right amount of gap and not too much. So yeah, I'll go along with that too, Mike.
I
like the EWG on the creature style bait too, but it's also a great place to use a round bend offset,
right?
Because I have more gap,
right? That's what I was going to say.
And a straight shank.
Yeah, and a strike shank. But I think the big thing with the round bends was, the regular offset hook. Most of us would use it for, a 6-inch ribbon tail worm or whatever. But they're usually the thinner diameter worms, like the girth is smaller on it.
Right.
The round bend allows you to use the same offset style hook that some people like. They don't like a wide gap. They like an offset style hook. But now you have that nice big gap there. You can put a brush hog on a offset round bend hook and still get enough gap to get the hook set.
Yeah.
So.
And a lot of it depends on the cover that you're fishing.
Yeah, I think so too. I think like a lot of Carolina rig guys are Carolina rigging with regular offset hooks,
right,
or straight shank hooks.
I have an interesting point to make on that too. So if you're fishing a tournament, especially a bigger event, like something like a BFL or a Toyota Series or a Bass Open, and you're on a shallow cover pattern, grass, wood, and you're pitching and flipping, that is a situation for a straight shank flipping hook. And hear me out on this. The hookup ratio and then the landing ratio is at its highest on a straight shanked flipping hook. Okay? So if you look at the design of these hooks, they're actually a wider gap than a round bend. They're almost like an extra wide gap straight shank. So you have a ton of gap, and it's a straight line. The eye and the point are in a pull line. And what these pros are doing on this hook in that situation is they're snelling the hook.
Right.
Okay. They're snelling their line on the shank of the hook. So that pulls that hook in a straight line. And when it hits the sinker, it kicks up. When it hits the sinker, it kicks up. So if you look at tour level events, 99.9% of those guys, when they're pitching and flipping, are pitching and flipping with a hook like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're doing that because when that level of money and points are on the line, they can't lose fish. Now, I'll make an argument because I like a Superline EWG. Snell my Superline EWG.
I won't.
In the same situation, when I'm using braid on a flipping type pitch and flipping rod, I always snell my EWG.
Yeah.
When I'm using braid on a pitch and flipping rod,
that's interesting.
I always snell my EWG, and I do it because I like the way the EWG holds my bait, and it's lower maintenance, and the hookup ratio and landing ratio is pretty darn good. So it depends. If I'm in a really big tournament, it's a straight shank. If it's like a just fun fishing or in a lower level tournament, then I'll do the EWG because it's lower maintenance for me.
Yeah.
But if it's braid, it's snelled.
I don't snell unless I'm flipping a half ounce or more. Because for me, when I tried to do it with a quarter or an eighth or like a lighter weight, when it hit the straight shank hook, it didn't really give it the pop that you wanted, like that I wanted. So
it wasn't heavy enough.
Right. It wasn't heavy enough to actually take and kick that out for me to see the benefit of it. So I'm like, well, so I just like my rule of thumb is I Texas rig, 3/8, or we'll just say 3/8 and less. 3/8 is kind of a push point if you're in really heavy stuff, but
regular Palomar tie knot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I snell
higher than heavier now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what you'll see most people doing.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Most of these touring guys doing.
And a lot of times you're not fishing 50 and 65 pound braid on a 4 or 5 power rod with a 1/4 ounce weight.
Yeah.
Right. You're just not.
All right. Let's keep moving here. Jig heads. I see a couple jig heads up there. Corbin, you want to talk about the Z-Man new jig head hook and what that's all about? And since you're talking about
this one right here,
this one and this one.
And this one. Okay.
Yeah.
So
and this one.
And this one. All right. So for this right here, I don't know if you guys And I know there's a video coming out on the YouTube side soon here on a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
For this new hook, okay, it's the Ned Locks. And for those of you guys that haven't thrown it, it is the exact same line tie as your regular Ned head, okay? But you can Texas rig it. So we fished this a lot this spring. George and I did, and Mike too. When we were
Not the
out on the river.
EWG hook.
And it's
It's
an
an
EWG
EWG
hook. So what does that mean? Why is this important? Okay. First of all, it's got a little bit of a thicker wire. Okay. And you guys, I mean, for a lot of people that officially fish together, you guys know I'm a fan of the regular original Shrooms head. I mean, I throw that a lot. And I don't throw it weedless. I'm not a weedless jig head guy. This is my weedless
I
option.
know.
This is my weedless option.
There you
Okay.
go.
And for me, when I looked at the diameter of the hook, I saw it was a little bit thicker. And I was wondering if I could still get the same hook penetration with my 802 NRX. And the answer is yes, you can. Which again, when we go a thicker wire, you need a little bit more backbone to drive the hook into the fish's mouth, especially in cover. So for me, this has been a great addition to my lineup when I'm fishing a Ned rig on wood, when I'm fishing it on docks, maybe when I'm fishing it in heavy cover, flooded bushes, flooded timber, like
The grass beds.
the grass beds on the river, grass in general,
Yeah.
because you can Texas rig the bait, it slides through, and to me, you still get the same approach. And for me, it's a mental thing. I don't see those 2 wire strands in front of my Ned head, which I feel like the fish can see. I'm just telling you, dude. That's me being picky. That's how it is for me. And I'm not a weedless guy. I mean, I will do it if I have to, but I will lose 100 jig heads.
I got you,
on
bro.
open hook, man. It's just to
I
me,
got
that's
you.
what
You
it
are
is.
really weird about that
Dude,
freaking weedless stuff, man.
Well, yeah, especially when they eat. I feel like when they eat it on the fall, you have like a direct hook penetration. Like it's just that's a whole other topic. But then we have the bullets, which I've fished as well. Now, what's different is, but this was the original Texas rig style EWG head that they came out with, but the line tie was different. So this was more of a looks like a 60-degree. No, but it didn't have the exact same action. So when your bait would stand up on this, okay, it would stand this way, whereas on the newer style, it stands straight up. So the reason, again, if we're going to throw the TRD on a regular open hook head, I want it to stand like this, because if I'm getting bit on a bait that's like this, I want to throw something that has it like this instead of this angle. Does that make sense? And then,
Well, this hook here, to be fair,
yeah,
was designed for the bulkier Z-Man TRD baits, such as the
Crawls.
TRD crawl,
Yep.
the TRD ticklers, the bulkier diameters.
Yeah.
This is where this hook excels.
and this is actually what I do throw on the TRD crawls if I'm fishing that bait. And then obviously they just came out with the bigger style crawl. It's about 4 inches, 3.5, 4 inches long.
Pro crawl.
Pro crawl, and they brought the exact same setup as this. It's just with a thicker hook. You're gonna have a little bit of weight to it.
It's a bigger hook.
Thicker style hook. Again, you got your finesse version and you got your more power version. Same exact thing, just different sizes. So all around, it's a great hook.
Yeah, I really like that
you
new HD EWG.
Yeah.
I really like that, and I think for a lot of guys who struggle with snagging on the river or in a river situation, any river, not just our river, but any river, where you're dealing with current or you're fishing brush on a high river situation where you're going into the bank and following the water up with the fish and fishing in behind bushes and flooded timber and flooded bushes. This is a exceptional hook and an exceptional rig that will save face
Yes.
for your day.
Yep.
You won't get all pissed off and want to go home after you break off 7,000 jigs. I saw Corbin do that one time.
Mike, we have a really good question on the machine here from James Hawk asking what hook do we like for wacky rigging?
Yeah.
So what hook do you like for wacky rigging, Mike?
I am a Gamakatsu finesse wide gap junkie.
Open hook or weedless?
I normally do weedless unless I'm fishing like a open water type of deal. Like on Sunday we were fishing like skipping underneath bushes, and you had to, or underneath trees and stuff, and you had to have a weed guard because it was all timber.
Try not to give away anything on the tournament.
Yeah, it was all timber and stuff underneath there, and I'd throw up there, and it would fall down in amongst trees and stuff, and an open hook would just be Snagville City. So I went to that weedless version, and it worked out really great. When I'm fishing more open water, then I just used an open hook, and I don't worry about a weed guard. You know, even some grass situations where it's not real thick grass, I don't mind an open hook because sometimes I like it to hang up on the grass, and then I like to pop it loose. But when you're in timber, man, you got to have a weed guard of some sort. And but the hookup ratio on that extra finesse wide gap and the strength of that hook, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
I really like it. I really like it. I know guys are using all kinds of hooks. I know when I first started doing it, I was just using a 3.0 extra wide gap.
Yeah.
I won a tournament. Well, I didn't win. I came in second in a club tournament in lily pads, and all I had was I didn't have any of those wacky rig hooks back in. And I won a tournament with
fancy wacky rig hooks.
Yeah,
Right?
I won a tournament on this hook right here. Anyway, just a regular EWG hook. I don't know where the hell they went.
Right here, dude.
Where? That's a round bin.
I know. Got on pump fake.
Yeah. So anyway, it was just the EWG hook. I was Texas rigging, and I was, getting some bites, and I thought, man, I think a wacky rig would be great around these pads. So I just took the hook and just stuck it through the middle, man. I was whacking them left and right. I ended up in second place.
Yeah.
In the tournament. So, but anyway,
now I like the same hook when I'm fishing an O-ring. I like the Gamakatsu finesse wide gap weedless when I'm fishing an O-ring on standard tackle. But when I'm flipping a wacky rig on a 4-power rod with 15 to 20 pound fluoro, then I like a heavier hook.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a hook that I really liked for that, but I have migrated to the Mustad Titan Wacky.
Right. Right.
That is a bad boy
That
right
is
there.
That is an awesome hook.
That is a bad boy right there.
That is an awesome
Okay.
hook. We like you said, we started messing around with some of these different hooks, but
and there's one other thing I like, James. I'm a huge fan of wacky jig heads. And my go-to there is also the Gamakatsu wacky jig head in a 1/16 of an ounce. And I love that when there's wind or current.
yeah.
What about you, Corbin? James Hawk is asking us, what kind of hook do we like for wacky rigging?
Well,
And we're trying to give him a good answer on that. And, I'm wondering what you're saying.
What is that?
Gamakatsu split shot drop shot hook.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And no weed guard. I will go to weed guard at the absolute worst case scenario, which probably doesn't surprise anybody because I'm just anti weed guard on stuff.
He is so anal about that, man.
I'll
be right back.
Listen, I fished
It's
some
crazy.
I fished some of the new ones like that have the fluorocarbon weed guard, and I like them, but it's not.
It's invisible in the water, bro.
Dude.
It's invisible.
Bro. We're not gonna talk about that, but it's nice, but it's not an open hook. I mean, the swords are crossing. You know what I'm saying? Like I use spread. I've had it happen, but I like them. I'm not sold on them yet. Maybe after a little bit more wacky rigging in the summer and low water, I'll be able to
I'm
give a
not gonna
better
bust
product
on
review
you.
on it. Because the big thing is for me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And an open hook has caught a lot of fish for it, so I'm not to the point.
Just
to change
think
it.
if you were fishing all the time and getting those extra 80 casts a day in,
I'd be catching a lot more fish.
you'd be
even.
catching a lot more fish. And you know what? All those seconds and fourths might have been first place wins. But
Oh.
no, we ain't allowed to use a wire guard or a weed guard.
A wire guard has never gotten in the way of me and victory, Mikey.
I think I whooped your ass on a wire guard many times.
I didn't know it was a tournament, brother.
Another interesting wacky hook that has been making some heavy duty news around these Hayabusa spin muscle. And it is a twin nylon weed guard hook. It's kind of got a funky bend to it. But that bend app and James Hawk, you might want to check out the spin muscle, especially if you're fishing like a spinning rod setup. This is a really nice light wire wacky hook from Hayabusa. And also, if I could, while I have the mic, John Henning is saying on here that you can't snell a super line hook because the bend gets in the way. So with or without a drum roll, I'm about to snell a super line hook to show John the trick that I use. So hopefully it will help him, because this is a really good flipping setup. So if you can get that camera in here, Nick, we're going to snell this hook. Ah, we do have a drum roll. So here's how I snell. So, yeah, that's good, Nick. I always bring my line through the eye of the hook on the point side of the hook. In other words, I don't come through on the back side of the hook. I'm sorry. I don't come through on the back side of the hook. I always come through on the point side of the hook. So I come down through, and now I'm going to make a loop. Okay, so I'm just going to make a loop in my braid. And you're right, John. It's a little, you don't have much space to work in there, but you got a little bit of space to work. And then I am simply going to go through my loop and around the shank of my hook, keeping my loop on one side of the hook. Okay. Takes a little practice. I haven't done this in a couple of years. It's kind of like stitching up a wound. When me and Mike were kids and we'd get in the parking lot and start rolling around, I'd always get the better of them, and I didn't want my dad to whoop my ass, so I had to sew them up. So I usually go about 5 or 6. And then, one of my loops jumped up here. I pull my main line. There we go. And voila. We are snelled.
Yeah.
Between the offset and the eye with 65-pound hog snatching thread from Power Pearl. Hopefully that helps you out, John. It's great when you're flipping braid in this style hook. As Corbin said, with a 3/8 or heavier sinker. Now, getting that off of there is a little tight. I usually have to take a sharp knife and slice it, along the hook. But
yeah,
that's how I do it.
Yeah. I get Georgia tie on mine on. I suck at snelling, so I always get Georgia tie him up for me, or I'll just steal one of his rods with it tied on.
Right.
Just being honest. I always get it wrong because I snell the thing all up and then I do the test thing with the sinker and it kicks out backwards, it goes kicks away from the fish, and it's like, oh shit. So then I got to cut the damn thing off and then I got to retie
Well,
it.
that's because you're not going through on the point side.
I know.
It's the same thing when you're tying a drop shot and you want it to stand out off your line. You always start on the point side of the hook, and then you always take your tag end back down through the point side.
I'm just being real because I know our audience is real, and I'm being real. So I screw up all the time, guys, especially and a drop shot. The other day, I went up out in the boat, and I'm like, what do you go for the front of the back? George's like, point side always. I'm like, nah, you're wrong. I tied up the back side and straighten it all out. And what does it do? It kicks down the wrong way. It's upside down on the damn line.
You can lead a horse to water.
Yeah. So
St. Chris has an awesome question. Yo, dudes, do you snell with fluoro also?
Yes.
I don't.
Yes.
I don't.
Yes.
I'm sure it works great, but when I'm in heavy, thick grass where I'm flipping with the big rod, I'm not using fluoro. Now, I
Yeah.
do snell my saltwater rigs with fluoro
Oh,
because I'm using octopus style hooks with the eye bent up, and they designed for snelling.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yes and no on that, St. Crest.
So, what else we have? We have any other rigs that?
Any other cool hooks?
Yeah.
You know what I grabbed up here, we talked about a little bit, is the for Texas rigging, the drop shot rig, for doing a Texas rig on the drop shot. So when you're going to drop shot in timber, standing timber, brush piles, if you're out there doing some brush pile fishing this summer, and you want to drag your drop shot through the brush pile, you're probably going to be drop shotting like a 6-inch robo worm or a trick worm or your favorite 6-inch worm. You're going to want to Texas rig that worm on a straight shanked hook. And there's a lot of good options now, but not too many years ago, there was no options except for the ones that you either made yourself or you bought from robo worm. This is a light wire robo worm. It's called a rebarb. This is actually their medium wire hook. I call it a light wire, but it's actually they classify it as a medium wire hook for fishing brush piles with a straight worm hook. You don't want the light wire hook. It's really light. And what they do is they take a piece of heat shrink, and you can make these yourself. They take a piece of heat shrink and they cut the top of the heat shrink on a 45-degree angle. So it's not squared off.
Yeah.
They cut it on a 45, and then they put it on the hook shank and they heat it up. And when it shrinks down, that 45 forms that barb.
Yeah.
So now when we Texas rig our hook on our little straight worm, it won't pull down the hook, which there's nothing more aggravating than, lining up on a brush pile on your electronics, which isn't easy to do, making the cast and hitting the brush pile, which isn't easy to do, and then having a frickin' brush pile pull your worm down.
Yeah.
So again, we talked about this hook a few minutes ago, the Aaron Martin's G Finesse, in the little number 2 size and the 1 size with the tin keeper, has basically solved that same problem with a different hook. So there's a couple other ones out there in the market now that do that. It's a specialty hook. Okay. It's a specialty hook. And it's for Texas rigging your drop shot
So
worm.
Andre's asking about the VMC spin shot for drop shotting. It's a great deep water drop shot rig. And and what I mean by that, when you're drop shotting deeper than 15 to 20, deeper than 20 feet of water most of the time, and you're trying to do a fixed hook to your line, with the way you would tie up for a drop shot rig, you better have a swivel somewhere in your line.
You better have a swivel about 10 inches above your rig,
because you're going to spin your line all the heck up. Well,
reeling it back
VMC
in.
came out.
Reeling it back in.
Yeah, reeling it back in. So not when you're fishing it, but when you're reeling it up to make another cast, that thing spins. You ever do that, Corbin?
Yep.
I mean, up at the 1,000 Islands, if you don't have some kind of swivel and you're fishing 40 feet of water and you reel that thing up, it's like 3 casts and your line's screwed.
right.
It messes you up.
It's in some kind of knot you haven't ever seen.
Yeah,
before,
it's
right?
like it's like the craziest thing you ever seen in your life.
Yep.
So, yes, I use that VMC swivel shot hook all the time in that situation because it saves your line like you would not believe. So, yes, we use it. We like it. Gamakatsu came out with one that has the quick clip on the bottom. The only problem with it, Corbin, you got to tie 77 knots just to use the damn thing.
Oh, yeah.
Not with the Gamakatsu.
With the Gamakatsu, you tie 1 knot to the top and then you just clip in for the leader length, and then you clip in for your sinker, and it's a little quicker. But the VMC is that nice little round hook for nose hooking, man. I like that. I like that thing. So yeah, I like that setup for deep water. I don't use it for around here because we're 15 foot or less, and it doesn't seem to spin your line up that bad. And I don't see the need for it at all for that. But yeah, and the other thing that they do, Andre, is they use those, and we got them here. They're little bitty swivels. They're by owner. They're micro swivels, man. They're so small you can actually reel them up through your guides and cast them.
Right.
I don't recommend it, but you can do that if you wanted to. They're little bitty things, and you can put that about 36 inches above your drop shot rig.
I put it about 10 inches above it.
And it just takes all that.
That's a Spro Power swivel.
It takes, well, there's the owner one too, the micro owner.
And they take all the twist out.
They do. They take them all out. And so you can do that too.
But you got to tie 2 more knots.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, some guys don't like that VMC hook, and they don't like the Gamakatsu hook, and you can't Texas rig with those.
You can too.
Oh, I guess they have the offset now.
Oh,
yeah.
Straight shank.
Offset strength shank. You're such a dick, George.
Sorry. I didn't know you didn't want to give factual information out on your hook.
Well, I'm
show.
just saying. Maybe you would. All right. Well, maybe you want to use the Gamakatsu rebarb hook.
I'm a swivel guy.
I am too.
I don't.
No. I like the spin shot because I don't really Texas rig on my drop shot.
Yeah, I mean when I'm deep, like Lake Erie, Thousand Islands, I tie them swivels in.
Yeah.
Because I'm too stupid to switch over to the spin shot. Plus, I'm invested in about 10 packs of swivels and about 100 packs of freaking drop shot hooks, and I'll be damned.
No, Andre, you can use it in shallow water. It doesn't hurt at all. Not at all. But I just don't do it because you got to tie so many knots where, if you want a drop shot, just a regular drop shot, you're only tying your polymer knot, folding the line down, sticking your weight on. And that's the way I drop shot, around here is it's quicker and easier when you break off. You don't have to tie so many knots, but no, you can use it. It doesn't hurt anything. You can use it in 2 foot of water if you want. It doesn't hurt at all. As a matter of fact, it might even give you more action the way it swivels around in there. It's really a cool rig. It's special. It's definitely a special rig. So, all right. So I think we got it covered, boys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Corbin. Do you have any specialty hooks that you wanted to throw in the mix here?
I mean, I keep it simple, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep it really, really simple. So, couple different
Kiss.
sizes.
I don't know, man. I saw your hook box
Kiss.
in your boat one time.
Yeah.
It did not look simple.
Well, I mean,
it's a 3,700 deep, and you got to stand on that sucker to get the lids to shut.
that's my jig head box, George.
No. Your jig head box is on wheels because 2 people it takes to pick up.
Oh.
I'm talking about your hook box.
Oh,
it was not simple.
there was tungsten in there too, bro.
Well-
I had that covered.
Well,
I mean-
we do all end up with lots of hooks.
Oh yeah, because you got to have 1.0 to 7.0 and everything, man.
We
And
definitely,
size
all
one.
of us fishermen end up with tons of hooks in
Yeah.
our box. And I hope this show helped you, kind of narrow down where you're going to use these hooks, how
How to choose them?
well, even how to choose them, and then to take advantage of all this stuff that's coming out that people put a lot of R&D and a lot of research and development into a technique to make it better for you, to make that punching better, to make that drop shotting better, to make
Make your presentation
your presentation better. There's all these different hooks out there. Now I think we kind of understand the wire thickness. I think we understand the round bends, the sprout bends, the EWG bends. And I think it's really helped. It really helped me kind of get it straight in my head again, because it's very confusing. I'm telling you, it's even confusing I talk about it every day, so it's not that bad. But so many people come in.
Key.
So many people come into the shop here and they're just so confused on hooks. So we just thought we would kind of just talk about it a little bit.
That's the key, Mike. I mean,
Dave Schindler, I have a box full of HP hooks, Dave. I save them.
All right, Mikey.
Look,
I saw that. I got a little trick for you.
what?
We forgot about the Trocar tube hook, man.
Huh?
Very unique hook.
Yeah.
Fantastic for flipping a tube. Because, you know, flipping that tube can be a little bit tough.
Yeah.
But this has been proven, man. The way it's designed, it's unique. It's one of those specialty hooks that we don't really talk about a lot.
Got the big
But,
kale style.
But if you
kale
guys
style
flip
hook.
a tube, if you flip a tube, you got to have it. Got to have it.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones that's always in my box.
There you go. And that's true because
That's awesome.
Schindler's just dumping in on here about the HP hook.
It's the same exact.
And the HP hook was one of the greatest hooks ever, you know, for Texas rig and tubes, because that was always a problem. It didn't have anything to bite onto. So now Trocar comes out with it with instead of the clip like the HP had, it has like the shrink tube.
Yeah, it has like a robo worm shrink tube.
Yeah, it has
keeper.
a rubber worm shrink.
The last time I took Dave Schindler bass fishing, he showed up with quad dipped 5-inch tubes, discontinued Mega HP flipping hooks, and 1981 7.5 foot St. Croix Premier rod that weighed in at just under about 9 ounces, and went to work. And that HP hook with that kale design,
yeah, he whooped up on him.
Every fish he stuck was pinned. That kale hook is a mean hook. It pins them. It pins them in the cheek real good.
Off-topic question, Stink Crest. Yes, the 894 NRX is the greatest rod ever built for a heavier style rod. The NRX Plus, you will absolutely notice a difference in tip weight. It is much lighter. I shouldn't say much. It's lighter and balanced better, right, George? All the rods we picked up, they seem like they balanced a little bit better. And the NRX Plus did that. They did exactly what they said they were going to do, make the rods better or don't do it at all. That was the theme there. And I think they're lighter. You can kind of feel it, but the tip balance is different on all of them. So yes, I think you'll be happy with the tip balance of the NRX Plus over the standard NRX. Definitely balances differently. So everyone we have over there, you can feel the difference between them.
Yep.
And much less tip heavy. I should say much less, but it's definitely less tip heavy, to answer your question. All right. Mike Barr, see you, buddy. See everybody. I appreciate everybody stopping by once again for stopping by the tackle shop. And next week's show, you're going to want to write down your questions or have your questions ready. We're going to do a question and answer segment right after our tournament talk next week. We're going to go to a question and answer segment, and we're going to answer questions and just go off of wherever we go. We're just going to ride that wave, man. We're going to get on that wave, and we're going to ride that sucker, and we're going to talk whatever we talk, which is always fun, George.
I love it.
It's a lot of fun. Corbin loves it. Everybody loves it, Nick. I don't know if you were in our last one, man. It was fun. We were just talking about all kinds of crazy topics.
Oh yeah, it was a good time.
Doesn't matter what the topic, we will jump in on it. We will tell you our 2 cents. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't for you, but we have a lot of fun with it. So that's going to be our next.
Plus, are we going to where exactly on the counter here is the trophy going
Oh yeah,
from the tournament?
yeah. I don't know. We have to clear out some space in the middle. It's going to go.
Corbin, you're not going to be able to be getting the show next week because our trophy for our tournament is going to be
right
Oh,
here somewhere.
Well,
right there.
That's okay. I'll be starting my pre-birthday weekend festivities. You know, I mean, I'll be starting a little early.
Oh, are
you?
you?
know what I mean?
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
We're going to have
That's right. Corbin's July 4th kid.
July 3rd, man.
Well, yeah,
Hey,
July 3rd.
And guess what ends next Thursday, boys? Dry
we're going to
June.
have
Dry
we're going to
June.
have 2 tournaments to break down next week. We're
Yeah.
going to have the Thousand Islands,
Yeah.
and we're going to have the Conowingo Bass Series
Oh yeah.
Open.
Victory
Oh
party.
yeah. Victory
Could
tour.
be interesting, people.
Victory talk, and we're gonna bust that all down for you. But make sure you have some great questions for next week. We are going to try to answer the best we can. We usually have a lot of fun with that. And I appreciate it. Again, we really appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, we always have a great time with you guys, and we have great results with the interaction with you guys, and we love it. We absolutely love it. So keep it coming. You all right, Corbin?
I'm great, dude.
So until next time, we will see you at the tackle shop.
You came over and you fell into my arms. Well, I know what I feel. Please tell me your love is real. You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down or when I am blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. I woke up all soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair and your beautiful smile. Your sense of humor makes it all worthwhile. Don't make me wait, it's not a funny game. You know just what